Good morning. Welcome back to day 2 of Symposium 2013. Delighted to see that everyone enjoyed last evening, perhaps more fully than some had originally planned, but we always appreciate folks taking advantage of the opportunity to network and to collaborate and to take the discussion forward. We had an exciting day yesterday. I hope many of you got to hear, if not all of you, certainly the highlights from my perspective here, were Andy Lawrence's presentation earlier yesterday on disruptive technologies. Kevin Brown from Schneider, I think, gave a stirring set of discussion around making decisions around digital infrastructure, and concluding the day, David Schumacher from Digital it put into context there just what is involved and bringing out a DSIM application within a certainly diverse hybrid digital infrastructure, 120 locations, 30 countries, very interesting. Again, this activity, this event is possible because of the underwriting support. And those of you who have not been in the exhibit hall there, which is just beyond the registration area, we encourage you to do so. The time is limited today. It will end, I think, after dessert at 2:30, so please be sure to go there and spend time with our folks at Digital. Those of you who haven't seen the activities with, or seen George Schlesman present from I/O, coming up, he's going to have a stirring presentation, I'm sure. We've got a bunch of media support that I think, given our setup here, will be most interesting to you. But also, discover the new company that you haven't heard about yet. Walk around and talk to some of the small folks there. And again, I think I must say that it looks like there may be a runaway slide deck here, guys, so I'm not touching, it seems to be pushing, so I'll warn you here if we need to interject. Or maybe that's just moving me along. Anyway, I do tend to get long-winded. We think events are a special way to develop our understanding and to share best practices, whether that be with the GITE award winners, whether that be with the technology innovation presentations by our underwriters, whether that be simply in the sessions that happen outside the main hall. This is about interaction, and I appreciate everyone being an active participant. We will continue this dialogue with upcoming 451 events, and again, as I mentioned to you yesterday, if you are not coming to us, we will be coming to you, and on a global basis, we will be introducing 2 new event formats coming up here. But prior to discussing that, let me reiterate, particularly for those of you who are finding your way in an emergent landscape. Vegas, Bellagio, 4 months from now, HCTS, our digital playbook. If you're finding and trying to put together an overall strategy for your organization to coordinate and to harness the power of your own assets and working through third parties on that, the digital playbook, digital infrastructure playbook that we'll be talking about in Vegas and engaging with you in dialogue is something I think that we'll find of great interest. Both for those who would seek to participate and those who would like to underwrite, we will be coming on one-day focused events at a senior level in locations around the globe, rolling out first in September with Moscow with 24 hours of uptime. Again, it will be an interesting format that will highlight the unique IP and understanding of Symposium and Uptime in particular and overall, and for a select group of underwriters to participate in a very, I think, elite organization with probably 100, 125 participants. Similarly, the organization formerly known as Tech Touchstone, now as leading our event business overall, is being repackaged as Enterprise 451, and what has been successful in the UK well, the second British invasion is about to occur. New York and San Francisco, as well as our activities in London, will bring together really a focus on the enterprise infrastructure executive. Stop by our booth at the Village Green to discuss more if that is of interest, and to see Enterprise 451 if you haven't done so. I'd like to kind of finish the advertorial here for a moment and really just kind of change gears a little bit here at the outset of day two. I'd like to spend a moment here acknowledging our founders. And several folks who are not here with us, Ken Brill and Bruce Taylor. Before I move to that, I'd just like to tell you how important I believe founders are in advancing our industry forward. And whether it be, a new organization like TerraCool, who just won our Audacious Idea Award for Green Enterprise IT by leveraging and harnessing the power of a LNG to recapture and be more energy efficient with powering data centers, or many of the DSIM organizations that we have here. I mean, we saw this kind of grow up before our own eyes. People who found organizations are a breed apart. People who take an idea and say, I'm going to make something of this. Because those of you in the audience who have done that, those of you who have participated early with founders know that it is a daunting task, and often rationality must be overcome by passion. It's something that you want to do. I think to the extent that our organization has prospered over the recent years has been because I've been able to work with the founders of 451 over the past dozen years, and in each of the acquisitions that we have added along the way, retained that talent and fueled our own growth here by harnessing the passions and commitment to do something new. Whether that be Tim Miller from our web mergers, whether it be Greg Zwakman from Tier 1, Ken Mail, InfoPro, Paul Carton, ChangeWave, and more recently, Terry Waters, who repositioned and recreated Yankee. We have Simeon Turner, who driving Tech Touchstone, and of course, Tony Bishop, Applied Velocity Labs. These folks have been fundamental in creating this mosaic and the compelling, we think, narrative that 451 Group is helping lay out real time with your assistance. No more so in terms of foundational elements and founders has it been more important, certainly in this organization there, than Ken Brill. Ken Brill is heralded, I think, by the folks who know, by the folks who have been there for the last 2 decades as really the father of the data center industry. He received the first Lifetime Achievement Award a few years ago at Data Center Dynamics, and that title was appended to him. There have been many other titles that have been appended to Ken over the years, some of which I won't be able to repeat right now. But Ken is a firebrand. Ken is a founder. And I also must highlight Bruce Taylor's work. Symposium exists because Ken found Bruce, and together they brought the topic, the idea of energy efficiency in IT to the forefront. Now, it has continued to evolve. We have never lost that element, but Bruce has retired earlier this year. We thank him for his service. We thank him for his foundational elements to create what we have here. He and Ken, I think, did something great. Those of you who were there, is there anyone in the room here who was at first symposium at the airport in Orlando 8 years ago? All right, we've got a few. Thank you. And have any of you folks, have you been at all of them since that time? Better still. Thank you so much for your continuing support. Ken Brill has become a good friend of mine. Since the acquisition of Uptime, Ken has been focused in Asia and has helped create the Asian network. He has been traveling tirelessly for the last few years from Beijing to Auckland, throughout many countries, many airports, many time zones. And Ken Brill, as those of you who know him, demands attention. He is a brilliant man, and he is incredibly bristly, right? He sometimes can't get out of his own way because he is so driven by trying to find out what is the real answer. And those of you who know the Uptime Network, those of you who are network members here, understand that Ken has, what he has done with that, which is the foundational element for the insights of the Uptime Institute, is to get organizations to share about failures, to share about problems, to discuss honestly not what went right, but what went wrong. And this is a man whom getting at the truth was paramount and is paramount. Ken, who is not here today, but fortunately resting comfortably at home in Maine with his family, Ken has a limited amount of time left with us on this planet. But he wanted me, having just spoken to him a few days ago, to reiterate how important he thinks the work that goes on in this conference and in this organization is. And he encourages each of you to take this forward and, as Pitt Turner said the other evening at the Guide Awards, take something back and do something about it. Ken is fiercely independent. He is someone who cuts his own way and has ever done so. He is steadfast. He is unyielding. He will not surrender ground when he believes he is onto an idea. And sometimes it is exasperatingly so, annoyingly so, but that's how good things happen. If a grain of sand can create a pearl, Ken is a 2,000-ton truckload of sand. He is insatiably curious. The man wants to know. I have seen him sit down and just get deep into a discussion for 45 minutes because it fascinated him. Ken's the kind of guy that, when going on a holiday cruise through the Panama Canal, insisted that he get off so he can take photos about the mechanical operation of one of the docks. He just wants to know, and it is that genesis, it is that idea which we take forward to honor him. Ken is the best of art and science. Ken is not trained as an engineer, even though he has taken many of us to task about that. He has his own approach, and that is where creativity comes forward. Ken believed in discussion, indeed debate. There was nothing he relished more than being challenged. There is nothing more that he got value from the advance of ideas. And this symposium, and indeed the Uptime Institute, owes him an eternal debt of gratitude. We appreciate Ken in a way that there are few people who have walked this earth that have done as much for this industry as Ken Brill. Finally, Ken, first and always, has been committed to your success. And whether that be with creating 2 decades ago the Uptime Network and painstakingly expanding that over the years when those kind of affinity communities were never heard of, and certainly not operating on the model that Ken had devised. Ken, whether it be at symposium, in networks, or through the promulgation of the tier standard, which has been downloaded tens of thousands of times now over the past 15 years, is about giving back. And in that, I think Ken has always embodied what leadership, true leadership, is always about, which is about service. It's not about dominance, it's about service. And it's helping your organizations to achieve, and about helping you gain more stature, gain more resources, gain more recognition within your companies to the foundational role that data centers and now digital infrastructure plays in achieving your company's business objectives. We wish Ken the best. For those of you who would like to have a personal remembrance to Ken or would like to share an anecdote about Ken, we will have a videographer between noon and 3 kind of hanging around our registration area right on the entrance to the expo hall. There will also be an opportunity for folks to sign a card and send it on to Ken. As you would imagine, someone who has never shied away from the hard problem, Ken is looking this issue straight in the eye and gaining value from every day. There is a lot that I have taken from my association with Ken Brill. There is a lot that I know many of us have, and we wish him the best. The best thing we can do going forward, I believe, is to live those principles. Now, the man I'm about to introduce has had also a long association with Ken Brill and the Uptime Institute. When this gentleman was a senior member of the digital infrastructure team at the Department of Defense, he joined the Uptime Network in 1994. He rejoined after he'd moved to American Airlines, and it is his work that led to the formalization and creation of the first tiers topology standard. Hank Cedar has served several tours of duty within the Uptime Institute, and we are delighted to welcome him back about 18 months ago to help us create the next generation of IP. Hank has done many things for this organization over the years, including, as I said, the development of the tier standard, also the creation of our education program. He is the author of the Accredited Tier Designer Program, and now he has been a driving force in advancing our conceptual framework for analyzing digital infrastructure options and decision-making. There is one Ken Brill, and there is certainly only one Hank Cedar. Hank will come on now, set the stage for the day. This will be over introductory comments. He will go more deeply, and I encourage you to make sure you attend the Forces sessions throughout the day. Let me bring out Hank Cedar. Thank you, Hank.